Right, welcome back. We're gonna continue from where we left off, which was chapter 3, I believe. So let's push on and see where the story carries on. I shot up out of bed startled, awake by a bad dream. Gosh, that was horrible. Everybody betrayed everyone else. The dream was probably just my brain trying to deal with what I'd seen with Shirabe and Mitarashi doing the night before. I checked the clock. It was still early. No reply yet, shoot. I was disappointed, but there wasn't much I could do. My uncle was in a far worse position than I was. He couldn't be expected to respond to texts quickly. I guess that means I'll have to handle things on my own then. With that decided, I hopped out of bed and began to get ready, but before long I heard a knock at the door. I peered through the peephole to see a piglet standing outside, so I opened the door to let him in. He flailed about in something that seemed to translate to good morning and then pulled in a room service cart. Whatever was on it smelt incredible and my stomach rumbled in response. So what's for breakfast? Still not talking, but it looks like he's trying to tell me something. My best guess was that breakfast was going to be some kind of jello-like product. Wasn't particularly excited for it, but the piglet pulled the lid off the tray with a flourish, and my eyes widened. I'd been completely wrong. Instead of boring jello, it was a delicious-looking spread of Japanese-style cooked fish, a meal fit for an emperor. Whoa, this looks great. I love Japanese food for breakfast. He replied with a thumbs up. They don't seem to mean any harm, but it's really hard to tell what they're really thinking if they don't talk. I was still pondering that while the piglet bowed and left the room. Oh, of course. He'd just left when I finally realised. That wriggling, he wasn't saying it was jello, he was saying it was fish. I grinned and went back to eating. At last, I was starting to feel like I could understand the piglets. I took my time with my breakfast, and when I finally finished up, it was nearly time to meet up with the others. I changed and headed down to the lobby.
Ohayo.
Good morning, to see you too, Shido. Everyone was waiting in the lobby, just like the day before. Everyone, that is, except Shirabe and Mitarashi aren't here yet. They were both on time yesterday. I felt my suspicions growing stronger. I wish this weird feeling would just go away.
どうした、お嬢ちゃん。難しい顔して。お、なんだよ。そんなに驚かなくてもいいじゃないか。
I spun round to see Shirabe and Mitarashi. Sorry, I was just kind of spacing out, I guess.
考え事ね。
Yes.
まあいい。お嬢ちゃんにもいろいろあるんだろう。
Hey man, welcome to the stream. I'm reading out the protagonist's lines of dialogue. They gave me a nod and they continued toward the sofa, where everyone else was already gathered. I found myself gazing out the window at the river beyond. They were talking about our plans for the day, but I didn't feel like joining in. I kept replaying what I'd seen, Mitarashi and Shirabe doing over and over in my head. What did it mean?
Saki-san, どうかしたのですか?
Oh, Arabe.
すみません。
考え事のお邪魔でしたか。だいぶ沈んでいるように見えますが。
No, I'm fine. Then I paused. Should I tell him what I'd seen? Would that make me feel any better? No, probably not. Yeah, nothing wrong here.
そうですか。お疲れのようでしたら、あまり無理をなさらないでくださいね。
He gave me a friendly smile, then returned to the others. Just as it had the day before, the boat docked at the plaza in front of the castle.
さてと、今日はやっこさん、どんなゲームを仕掛けてくるのかね。
Can't be any more crazier than the Alice in Wonderland thing. Mind you, it's probably about to get a whole lot crazier.
どうせとんでもないやつに決まってるよ。
We talked for a bit discussing what might happen that day, but before long we were interrupted by a voice we'd all come to dread. He sure seems happy today. It made me uncomfortable.
なんだあいつ、やけに機嫌がいいじゃねえか。
何か裏があるんだろうね。
Apparently I wasn't the only one who was suspicious.
Big surprise. なんだそれは。
I swallowed. I felt my stomach twist in my gut. My eyes flicked to Shirabe and Mitarashi before I could stop them. No, he can't be telling the truth. It has to be some sort of trick. But why would he go out of his way to say one of us is a traitor? I felt the atmosphere grow suddenly tense. Then Shirabi spoke.
耳を貸すんじゃないぞ。どうせ夕べの仕返しに俺たちのチームワークを引っかき回したいだけに違いないからな。
ああ、そうだな。俺も同感だ。
If I hadn't seen Shirabe with the statue the day before, I probably would have agreed too. But as things were, this just makes him more suspicious. Then again, Midarashi was on the phone too. Maybe he was talking to Hogstein. The pig's words about a traitor in our midst kept echoing around in my head.
何？思い詰めた顔しちゃって。
Huh? Oh, sorry. Do I really look that out of it?
してた。あいつのあんな言葉、信じるだけバカを見ると思うよ。あんまり。
Whoops, accidentally skipped it, didn't mean to. You're right, I know it's just...
気持ちはわからないでもないけどね。でも、あんなことをわざわざ言うなんて、僕たちを動揺させたいだけだろうからさ。
Yeah, I know. I gave him the best smile I could manage and tried to act like everything was alright. It wasn't though. Wakasa hadn't seen what I had. How could he know? We walk towards the next game in silence. I guess they're all nervous too.
さあ気持ちを入れ替えていきましょう。それで今日のアトラクションは一体どんなゲームが元になっているのですか？
Clapped his hands together as he spoke and looked around smiling.
確か血まみれホスピタルだったか？
With a name like that, I'm assuming it's horror themed then.
血まみれホスピタル。
Yep.
日本の片田舎にある廃病院を舞台にしたホラーアドベンチャー。
So I'm thinking a la Resident Evil or Silent Hill, I suppose. It sounded like Miyoshi knew quite a bit.
懐中電灯を片手に廃病院内を探索して徘徊するゾンビに見つからないように脱出するのが目的。通常のライフとは別に恐怖ゲージっていうのがあって、それがマックスになるとゲームオーバーになるのが特徴なんだ。
ホラーゲーム？
そいつは面白そうじゃないか。無事級アイランドの戦慄ラビリンスが確かそんなやつだったな。
それロケで行ったことある。
マジで？あれすげえ面白いよな。
お前詳しいな。
別に俺が言ったわけじゃねえよ。ただほら、ああいうの女が好きだろ。だから職業からだな。
ああ、どうしよう。僕怖いのは本当にダメなんだけど。
Well, at least it looked like we'd know a little bit about the attraction going into it. I'm worried about the trader though. I couldn't focus on the game we'd be playing. What if one of us was working for the pig? I sighed and looked around.
どうかしたのか？
I thought I saw someone move in the shadows over there.
どこだ？誰もいないが。
大方黒子ってところじゃねえか。 もしくは何か見間違いかもしれんな。侵入者がいればワルドブーが黙っているはずがなかろうよ。
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It looked too small to be a piglet. Perhaps I was just seeing things. The blood-stained hospital was a strange building with a giant needle stuck into it. That sure looks pretty spooky. I could see the blood drain out of Wakasa's face. I guess he wasn't kidding about not being good with scary stuff. I felt a little sorry for him, but we didn't exactly have a choice. His forced cheerfulness contrasted especially strangely with the creepy appearance of the hospital. In fact, it made it even scarier.
ひとまず中に入るしかないようですね。
では行くぞ。
No sooner had we approached the entrance than we encountered our first obstacle. There were 3 huge doors instead of a single door, or single one. So, can we just enter whichever one we want?
待て。扉の上に何か文字が彫られている。
ああれは英語か？いや違うな。
どうやらラテン語のようだな。この扉を通る者は一切の希望を捨てよう。
Divine Comedy reference. You know Italian? I stared at him incredulously.
地獄門。
Dante's
ダンテの
Inferno,
新
yeah.
曲か。
The Divine Comedy, pretty much. So, I'm assuming it's all going to be Divine Comedy stuff referenced in here, possibly. He smiled knowingly and tapped his forehead. That's when I realised what was really behind the grim feelings I've been experiencing. It would suck if a traitor destroyed the team we'd built, even if we only have known each other for 2 days. But if we lost even one person, we'd be in real trouble. Each attraction so far has needed every single one of us in some way.
おい、大丈夫か。
Oh, yeah, sorry, I just kinda spaced out for a minute. So, what should we do?
ああ。全員で固まって進んだ場合、その扉が間違いだった時の時間のロスが怖い。3組に分かれて進むのがいいだろう。
確かにそれが一番かもな。で、例によって組み分けだけど、どうするよ。
俺は誰とでも構わんよ。ああ、俺もだ。
僕だって誰とでも構わないよ。別にこんなの作り物でしょ。怖くないし。
私も誰とでも構いません。
Mitsurashi's face broke into a wide grin. I could almost see the gears spinning up in his head. Wait, what's he planning? This seems suspicious.
おい、目押し。俺と一緒に行こうぜ。
僕と？
いいだろう。どうせ誰かと組まなきゃなんねんだしよ。
Miyoshi didn't seem particularly thrilled.
別に構わないが、お前はまたどうして彼と一緒に行きたいんだ。
別に何でもねえよ。
怪しいな。何か隠していないか。
んだよ。つべこべ言わずにとっとと組み分けしろっての。
I could see another possible real fight brewing when Miyoshi finally spoke up.
絶対に嫌だ。昨日みたいに質問攻めにされたくない。
Wait, what?
バカ言うなよ。
どういうことだ。
Suddenly all eyes are on Mitarashi. He chewed his cheek for several long seconds before finally conceding.
こいつにいろいろ聞いてたんだよ。
Like what?
そりゃ決まってんだろ。こいつめちゃめちゃゲームに詳しいし、なんつうか興味が湧いたんだよ。アトラクションの元になってるゲームのことがよ。
どういうゲーム機で遊べるのか、値段はいくらぐらいなのか、そしてそれぞれの細かいセールスポイントまで聞かれた。
買い物は下調べしてからって言うじゃないか。
僕はネットの検索エンジンじゃない。
Somebody should make the Miyoshi search engine. I might have to make art based on that.
しかもあまりにもしつこいからうんざりして部屋に避難したのに、その後電話までかけてこられた。
うんざりってお前な。
なるほど。ひとまず理解した。
Then that means Mitarashi was talking to Miyoshi on the phone last night. And let out a sigh of relief. That meant Mitarashi wasn't a traitor. But I still don't have anything that clears Shirabe. I glanced over at him while everyone was just busy teasing Mitarashi. But he looked like he always did, totally unconcerned.
ま、とりあえず話を戻すが、ここはひとまず大人である俺、そして指導、浦部は別れた方がいいだろうな。
確かにその通りだな。
おいおいおい、大人組にどうして俺が入ってないわけ？
Oh, hey Waldy, welcome to the stream. You're just in time. You haven't missed much. We just got off the boat and we're heading to the next attraction, which is survival horror themed, and we're going into a hospital called the Bloodstained Hospital. And we're all deciding on whether what groups we should go into the building with. Also, we were suspecting Mitarashi, but not now. It turns out he was on the phone to Miyoshi asking about video games all night, so that's cleared him of any suspicion of being a traitor. Shirabe is still clouded in suspicion right about now, though. Yes, it's a great emote. Did you actually see what the Pog emote was this today? Click both of them. I have a feeling, I hope it becomes permanent. I hope Komodo Hype becomes the new Pog, to be fair. And then we can have something else take over the Komodo slot, I suppose. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I would rather just have Komodo be the new Pog champ now. Really. I mean, I've been saying it for near enough a week. Yeah, if you just click on each one, it'll tell you what it's Komodo or Pog champ. Shido simply ignored Midarashi's protests and rattled off the group assignments.
俺と目押しコータ、調べ歩むと若さとは、そして浦部君丸と御手嵐流星で3組、そして稲船咲、お前は。
Well, I'm assuming they were adding random people as emotes pretty much. I've got a feeling Komodo Hype will be the new PogChamp, and I have a feeling they're going to replace Komodo Hype with something else. So... Yes.
お前は俺が守ってやるよ。今までも体張って守ってやってただろ。
いや、御手嵐流星は信用ならない。ここは刑事であるこの俺が適任だろう。
ちょっと待ってよ。 僕と一緒が一番じゃない？ほら調べさんも一緒だしさ。それに人数が多い方が怖くなくていいからさ。
At least his motives were pretty clear. What should I do? It felt nice to be wanted, but I still had to make a choice.
まあまあ、ここは一つ彼女に選択を委ねましょう。
I silently thanked him. More desperate pleas were not what I needed. More desperate pleas were not what I needed. But what am I going to do? I'm thinking Midarashi and Urabe for some reason. But on saying that, Shirabe is still suspicious AF. Yeah, I think we'll go with Shirabe and Wakasa. Because I want to see Shirabe's motives maybe come out a bit more. Maybe we'll get an idea of what he's hiding, in a sense. Yeah, we'll go with these two. It makes more sense for me to do it that way. Considering the narrative, anyway. Wakasa looks pretty scared, but I also want to keep an eye on Shirabe. Is it okay if I go with you?
わかった。
そうだよね。僕らと一緒に行けば怖くないよ。
And that was that.
ひとまずそれぞれの健闘を祈る。何かあっても残念ながら携帯での連絡は許可されていない。
まあ自分たちで何とかするしかないってことだな。
何でもどんとかかってこいってのは。
We can do it, guys. We nodded to each other as a piglet came trotting out to meet us. What the heck is this guy saying? I was still trying to figure out what we were supposed to do when Miyoshi spoke up.
これつけろって言ってる。
Oh, like a heart meter thing.
彼らの言葉がわかるのですか？
なんとなくだけど。
Now that he said it though, I could see that the piglet was holding several watch-like things out towards us. Are these watches?
横にスイッチがついてるよ。
When I pressed the button, the LCD panel lit up.
これは心拍計か？
Yeah, I think you're right. See, there's a little heart icon next to the number.
多分これは恐怖ゲージだ。
なるほどな。さっきお前さんが言ってた理屈からすると、心拍数が一定の数値を超えるとゲームオーバーってわけか。
He scratched his beard and the piglet nodded vigorously.
全員がこれをつけるとなると、一人でも数値を超えたらゲームクリア失敗になるのか。
7人中3人がゲームオーバーになるとクリア失敗だって。
So basically, if 3 of us get really, really scared, it's game over then. I still wasn't sure how he understood them, but the piglet didn't show any signs of objecting, so he must have gotten it right. Wait, no, why am I thinking about how Miyoshi understands them? There's more important stuff going on.
7人中3人。半分以下の人数で会うことは思いのほかハードだな。
僕もうダメかも。
んだよ。入る前からビビりやがって。落ち着けっつうの。
Wakasa leapt nearly a foot into the air as he landed. A ringing sound came from the device around his wrist.
たくビビりすぎだろ。
そっちこそいきなり背中叩かないでよ。
とにかく3人アウトでクリア失敗だ。口で言っても難しいかもしれないが、あまり怖がりすぎないようにしてくれよ。
Gosh, I hope it doesn't get too bad. I'm in there. Too bad in there, I should say. I'm in there. What the hell? I headed towards the door in the center along with Shirabe and Wakasa.
おっと、これを持っていけってことだな。
With a grin, he grabbed the flashlight hanging to the side of the entrance. Are you okay?
大丈
He didn't look fine, not by a long shot. But I was scared enough myself. There just wasn't a lot I could do for him.
お嬢ちゃん、どうかしたか？
Well, it just looked like this, but the door was already open and a little bit.
あれだよ、アトラクションの準備をした黒子が閉め忘れたんじゃない？きっとそうだよ。
I see. It seemed like a reasonable enough explanation, and to be honest, I didn't want to imagine other scarier possibilities either. I followed Wakasa and Shirabe inside.
暗いな。
He flicked the flashlight on, illuminating the small part of the hallway.
なんだかカビ臭くない？
Yeah, it is a little strange.
まあ、これも演出の一環だろうな。舞台は廃病院らしいからな。
匂いでまでムード盛り上げなくていいじゃない。余計なお世話だよ、まったく。
He was still mumbling to himself when,
聞け。不死者の迷宮は聖者の魂を食らう。忍び寄る死の足音に目を凝らし、耳を澄ますんだ。
びっくりした。いきなり喋るなよ。
不死者の迷宮、忍び寄る死の足音。
what does that mean?
まだ今のところはわからないな。少し進んでみよう。
Walking through the thick, oppressive darkness made it feel as if we were walking into the mouth of hell itself.
何もないな。何かヒントになるようなものでもあるといいんだが。
He frowned and moved the light across the floor, searching for anything of interest. There were signs of neglect and decay everywhere, from peeling wallpaper and mildew on the walls to chunks of concrete strewn across the floor.
こんなところに立ち止まるのやめようよ。とっとと進んで、とっとと終わらせよう。
まあ、とっととってわけにはいかないだろうがな。先を急いだ方がいいのは確かだ。
Headed towards into the darkness again. It's probably just another attempt at authenticity, but it's so cold. Would it kill them to turn the heat up a bit? As I lifted my hands up to my mouth to warm them, I heard a crackling noise echo through the hallway. I just stepped on a piece of concrete. Wakasa leapt about a foot into the air, then crouched down onto the floor, shaking. Unsurprisingly, his alarm began to sound. Sorry, that was just me. I walked over towards him slowly.
落ち着け。 大丈夫だ。
Shirabi gave Wakasha's shoulder a reassuring squeeze, and the younger man looked up at him surprised. Sorry for making that noise.
いや、僕もビビりすぎだったね。
He took a deep breath and closed his eyes. A few moments later, his alarm slowed and stopped.
さあ、先を急ごう。どうやらこの辺りは迷路になってるみたいだからな。
We've already lost a lot of time. I don't think we can afford to go slow.
そういうことだ。おい、若さ。大丈夫か？
もう平気。今のでだいぶ落ち着いたかも。行こう。
We pushed forward down the dark hallway. It did definitely seem to be some sort of maze, with new hallways branching off to the left and right. I can't even remember how many turns we've made. I hope we're going to be okay. I let out a quiet sigh, and I thought no one else would hear, but Shirabe looked back at me.
安心しろ。俺が道を覚えてる。道がわからなくなってないか不安なんだろ？
Yeah, how did you know?
っていうか、覚えてるの？
当たり前だ。無作為に迷路をうろうろする時間はなかろう。俺の記憶力を信じな。
Reliable as always. I do want to trust him, but if only I had some sort of proof that he wasn't a traitor. Was that a scream?
何今の？
Looked over at Wakasa and our eyes met. I swallowed.
今のは女の声か？
I think so.
声の方に行ってみるか。何かの手がかりになるかもしれん。
行くの？
ビビっていてもこの迷路から出られるわけじゃなかろ
The uwu scream. I think it was coming from somewhere to the right up ahead.
う。よし。じゃあ行ってみるか。
Wakasa was still reluctant, but he didn't refuse, so we headed off towards where the voice had come from. Unfortunately, the maze didn't get any simpler, and just moving in a single direction proved to be very difficult. It's hard to get anywhere in here.
ああ。でもまあ、一度通った道は通ってないはずだ。
Then we have to be... Wakasa, are you alright? He was staring straight ahead, his body stiff as a board.
何か聞こえない？
Hear what?
ほら。
なんだこの音。
I don't know, it sounds like something dragging. We stopped to listen. It was coming from the right side of the intersection ahead and getting closer.
おい、隠れるぞ。
Right. Wakasa had frozen in terror, so I grabbed his arm and pulled in behind a nearby pillar with us. That's not as frightening as I thought it would be, to be fair. As we watched, it stepped into the intersection carrying a light. the heck was that? What the heck is that? I've never seen anything I would have called a monster before, but this definitely fit the bill. Although it was vaguely person-shaped, its body was lumpy and misshapen, peeling skin and open wounds. Against all logic, it appeared to be carrying a gun. I thought someone grabbed my hand and spun around to see Wakasa holding onto it. His alarm was going off, and I could feel his hand shaking in mine.
大丈夫だよ。怖くないって。
He's shaking so hard I think he might break something, but he's still worried about me. Wakasa's face was as white as a sheet, and somehow managed to force a wavering smile onto it and squeeze my hand. I felt myself relax a little bit.
あんなの黒子が着ぐるみ着てるだけだって。それにほら最近は特殊メイクとかだってあるし、あれものすごくよくできてて本物みたいに見えるだけだから怖くないよ。
Yeah, you're right, it doesn't really seem so scary now, huh? After a few moments his alarm slowed and stopped. That was really nice of him. Any guy can comfort you, but it takes a real special kind of guy to try when he's scared out of his mind. After a few more tense moments, the monster shuffled off down another hallway. We let out a collective sigh of relief.
やれやれ、なんとかやり過ごせたな。
死ぬかと思った。
I agreed, but I had questions. What was that thing?
ゾンビじゃないの？
目押しが言ってたな。元になったのはゾンビに見つからないように脱出するゲームだと。アナウンスの不死者ってのはあいつのことだろう。まあいずれにしろ問題はあの機関銃の方だ。
Yeah, it looked pretty real to me.
これは生死をかけたゲームだからな。おそらくそうなんだろうな。
じゃあもしかして見つかったら蜂の巣にされるってこと？
Well, we'll just have to be extra careful from now on.
ああ。
We headed off again in the direction of the voice we've heard earlier. Before long we found ourselves at a staircase leading up to the next floor. At the top was another pitch black hallway just like on the first floor.
ここまでは順調だが。
I seemed to sense something further down the hall, and Shirabe brought the flashlight up. What? I saw it like a child dash out of the light, but before I could get a good look, it was gone.
女の子？
Yeah, but why? Suddenly I remembered the small figure I'd seen on my way to the attraction. What was that? But then Shirabe spoke.
今のはまさか。いや、そんなはずはないな。
What is it? Do you know something?
いや、なんでもない。
Sure doesn't look like nothing to me, buddy. What is he thinking?
それよりさ、さっきの子追いかけた方が良くない？
確かにその通りだな。ゾンビに見つかりでもしたら大変だ。よし、追いかけよう。
Okay. Took off after the sound of her footsteps. Fortunately, it was only seconds before we lost her. The echoes bouncing down each hallway made it impossible to tell which direction she'd gone. What should we do? She could be anywhere. Another scream echoed through the darkness. Echoes hadn't even fainted when Shirabe's alarm went off.
やっぱりそうだ。くそ。なんだってこんな場所に。
Shirabe?
先に行くぞ。
What? Wait. Shirabe shoved the flashlight into my hands and we ran off into the darkness, leaving Wakasa and myself staring after him.
なんなんだよ今の。さっきの子、調べさんの知り合いか何か。
I'm not sure, but he looked pretty pale. We should go after him. I turned around as I spoke, and that was when I saw a zombie. It was behind Wakasa, down at the other end of the hallway. Oh no. Come on, this way. I grabbed Wakasa by the arm and hauled him behind a nearby pillar.
いきなりどうしたわけ？
Shh, there's a zombie out there. As soon as the words were out of his mouth, he clapped his hands over it. We huddled together, too terrified to speak, while the zombie slowly shuffled past. See? We exchanged wide-eyed looks, and he nodded vigorously, his face white as a sheet.
ありがとね。助けられちゃった。
No problem. The zombie gone, we ran out from behind the pillar and took off after Shirabe. It wasn't long before we caught up with him. Are you alright? Did you find that girl?
わからん。確かこっちの方向で足音を聞いたと思ったんだが。
あそこに。
Wait, those lights? There's an exit?
あの扉から出ていてくれればいいんだが。行くぞ。
Right. Took off as fast as we could go and burst through the door. The damp, mouldy smell was gone, replaced by the harsh, antiseptic smell of a functioning hospital. This is an operating room, isn't it? In the centre of the room was a surgical table with various unpleasant-looking tools laid out across it. The general creepiness of the room brought me up short, and I took a tentative step back as the two other doors opened and the rest of our party appeared.
やれやれ。全員無事か。
無事っちゃ無事だけどよ。
ひとまずみんな怪我がなさそうでよかったね。
ああ。
You guys. I began to move slowly towards the table in the centre, hiding in the shadows. I could see the form of a small girl curled up in a ball. Are you okay? You don't need to be scared, we're not going to hurt you. Slowly and cautiously, a little girl with a huge backpack stepped into the light.
マイ。
What? As soon as she spotted Shirabe, the girl ran toward him and leapt up into his arms. We were totally dumbfounded. Daddy? Everyone let out a sigh of relief.
クリアっつうのはよかったが、おっさんよ、 これはどういうことだ。
He sure does.
ああ、説明してもらいたいな。
Yeah. Shirabi set the girl back down and turned to face the rest of us.
調べまい。俺の娘だ。
娘さん？
意外だな。
お子さんがいらしたんですね。
ああ。
Okay, but what's she doing here? She still seemed scared and had hidden behind her father's leg to peer out at the rest of us.
舞は俺の亡くなった妻との忘れがたみでな。訳あって今は妻の実家、舞からすれば祖母の家に預けている。
ってことは今は一緒に暮らしてないんだ。
まあそういうことだ。で、舞、なんだってお前はこんなところにいるんだ？
あのね、
She looked down at the floor and played with her hands as she spoke.
おばあちゃんと一緒にここに来たらドカーンって爆発があって、そしたらおばあちゃんとはぐれちゃって。
You lost her in the park.
ってあの日からもう3日も経ってるのに飯とかどうしてたんだよ。
リュックの中にね、お菓子がいっぱい入ってるの。
3日間もお菓子を食べながらランドの中をさまよってたってわけか。
Shirabe shook his head and sighed.
しかしどうしたものか。
What do you mean?
いや、舞はどう考えても外部の人間だろ。ゲームのルールに抵触しないかと思ってたな。
ああ、それは問題ないだろう。
そうでしょうか。
そうだよ。だって舞ちゃんはさ、最初からランドの中にいたわけだし、そういう意味では外部ってわけじゃないじゃん。
People would not be saying uwu. Yeah, I suppose you could say that Shirabe's daughter is like uwu in terms of cutesiness, I guess. Like mascot kind of thing, I guess. Even the design looks a little bit like a mascot, actually. Besides, if her being here was against the rules, Hogstone would have done something already, right?
確かにあの野郎覗き豚だからな。常に監視してるってのは昨日の件でよく分かったら。
つまり奴が文句をつけてこないってことは大丈夫だってことか。
まあいずれにせよこのアトラクションをクリアしなければ ここから出ることもできませんし。
その通りだ。まずはこのゲームのクリアに全力を尽くそう。
We nodded.
さてとだ。まずはこの病院の構造を簡単に説明しよう。
Shido began to explain what he'd learned. Apparently the rooms went nightmare maze, vivisection lab, then records.
なるほどな。ここは人体実験室ってわけか。くそ。なんか胸くそ悪い部屋だと思ったぜ。
Then that table.
やめようよ。どうせアトラクションなんだし、本当にここで人体実験があったわけじゃないって。
そうだ。いつものように落ち着いて周囲を探索しよう。
So we moved off to examine the rest of the room. Mai edged up to me.
ねえ、人体実験って何？
Nani? Sorry, I couldn't resist that meme.
ああ、人の体を調べるってことだぜ。
I guess that's one way of putting it.
だろ？
He grinned at me. How is he so confident all the time? I was trying to figure out how maybe I could siphon off some of that confidence when Wakasa suddenly spoke up.
なんか奥のドアにごつい錠前みたいのがついてるけど。
Well, we probably have to unlock it then, right?
おそらくそうだろう。この錠前のせいでドアノブが回らないようになっている。
He examined the doorknob closely, but was careful not to actually touch it.
しかしこの錠前、鍵穴がないようだな。
案外力ずくで開くんじゃねえの？
He strode over and reached for the doorknob.
これは報いだ。数々の実験を行ってきた私自身が実験の対象となる時が来たのだ。逃げなくては意志を持たぬ不死の化け物となる前に、ここを後に訪れる者のためにメッセージを残す。地を這い、天を仰げ。
Mitarashi froze with his hand on the doorknob and looked around as the announcement finished.
最初のアナウンスもそうだったけどさ、なんか誰かが話しかけてきてるみたいで気持ち悪いね。
地を這い天を仰げ、さっぱり意味がわからんな。
しかしその言葉がヒントとなっているのは確かだろう。一体どういう意味が隠されているのか。
もっと調べればわかるだろ。ほらほら、野郎ども、とっとと調べるぜ。
We all sighed quietly at this ridiculous enthusiasm, but started looking over the room anyway.
人体実験室っていうだけあって物騒なものがいっぱいあるね。
Have you checked that cabinet?
開けてみよ
Miyoshi and I began to go through the cabinet.
う。なんだろう。これは薬品の瓶かな。
おい、ちょっと待て。危険な薬品があったらまずい。俺が判別しよう。
Miyoshi stepped out of the way and Shirabi began to take the bottles out of the cabinet and set them on a wheeled cart.
どれどれ。こいつは食塩水。確かに何の匂いもない。
For each bottle, he squinted at the label and popped it open to smell the contents. Perhaps in an attempt to mimic her father, Mai grabbed one of the jars and studied it with exaggerated care.
どれどれ
Who, Miyoshi, you mean? No. Before I could stop her, she twisted the cap off and had taken a big sniff. Whatever was inside didn't seem to be too pleasant. She started coughing. The jar, forgotten in the face of its overwhelming odour. Mai's hand let go and dropped on the floor and shattered. What is this? Almost immediately the smell of the jar filled the whole room and everyone began to cough.
これは
何これ
おい、鼻と口を布で塞げ。
We all retreated to a corner of the room, covering our mouths with sleeves and handkerchiefs.
大丈夫か？目とか喉とか痛くねえか？
大丈夫。
すまない。
子供ってのは何すっかわかんねえから子供なんだよ。いにず
He draped his coat over Mai to protect her from whatever had been in the jar. I guess he's actually pretty nice, huh? Wasn't long before the smell died down. Just as I was about to relax, Shirabe rounded on Mai. He started to yell at her.
マイ、お前自分が何をやったのか分かってるのか？
Shirabe was furious, angrier than I'd ever seen. As Mai backed away from him, she began to cry. His alarm started to sound.
おいおい、気持ちはわかるけどよ。そんな頭ごなしに。
部外者は黙ってろ。
Oh.
ゲームオーバーです。
落ち着け。心拍数のチェックはまだ続いているんだぞ。
分かってるよ。だがこいつが。
Shirabe seemed to have barely even noticed that he'd maxed out his terror gauge. He wasn't getting any less angry, and Mai was still crying. I didn't like where this was going. She's a kid like Midarashi said, but that's why her dad ought to be keeping an eye on her. Instead, he's just getting all angry and he doesn't even seem to care whether she's okay or not. Time to take him down a peg.
悪かった。
Adults are supposed to look after kids so they don't do stuff like that, right? I mean, you're her dad. You should have been paying attention to what she was doing. You didn't even ask if she was okay.
確かにお前さんの言う通りだ。これじゃ父親失格だな。
You're not a terrible father. I should have been keeping an eye on her too. Just go easy on her, okay?
ゲームオーバーです。
What? I jumped. Hadn't even noticed my alarm going off, but apparently I got an excited through to max out my gauge.
とにかく皆さん、一度落ち着いてください。みんな無事だったんです。それでよしとしようじゃありませんか。
本当にすまん。前のこととなるとどうしても気が気じゃなくなっちまう。
Yeah, our protagonists are out of the game now, and Sam Shirabe.
正直どう接していいのかわからないところもあってな。もう何年も離れて暮らしてるから距離感がつかめないんだ。
おっさんよ、逆に気にしすぎなんじゃねえのなあ、マイ。
Crying finally stopped and Mitarashi bent down to pat her gently on the head. It does seem like Shirabi and Mai aren't very close though.
なぜ別々に暮らしているのかは知らないが、一緒にいればそのうち時間が解決してくれるさ。
そうだな。
ひとまずまた探索しよ
ああ、刺激臭も収まってきた。
Spent the next 45 minutes or so checking every corner, but we couldn't turn up anything that looked promising. Did you notice that all these knives and stuff are fake? They're glued to the table.
本物と言えるのはさっきの薬品の瓶だけか。
Yeah, and that makes them suspicious. Shirabe gathered up all the jars and arranged them on top of the surgery table.
う。瓶は全部で9本。そのうち1つはさっき割れたから。
残りは8本か。さてどうしたものか。
Each one's got a label on it: nitric acid, saline solution, and methanol.
ああ、全然わかんねえな。さっきのヒントって何だったっけ？
地を這い天を仰げ。これがどういう意味を表すのか。
We all set to thinking about the hints, and silence fell over the room. After a few minutes, I noticed that Mai, who seemed to have been taking a liking to Mitsurushi, was looking kind of puzzled. Well, she's just a kid. All of this stuff is probably really confusing. As I kept watching, I realised that she was also being pretty fidgety. Is there something you want to tell us?
うん。
She nodded nervously.
あのね、あそこに何か書いてあるよ。
あ？どこだ？
あそこの下。
She pointed to the far side of the surgery table. Mikasa walked over and crouched down to take a look.
本当だ。何か書いてあるね。
You noticed that when you were hiding over there earlier. Good job, Mai. Patted her on the head and she giggled.
一章三。まるで血で書かれているようだが。
おお、それってあれだ。うわ、ほら、ダイニングメッセージってやつ。
ダイイングメッセージ。
Low ranking table. Oh god, that's terrible.
そんなにそう突っ込みしなくたっていいだろ
う。まあまあ、どちらにしろこのメッセージを書いた本人が亡くなっているかどうかもわかりませんし、単なる血文字ですね。
Yeah.
くそ。
As we continued to discuss the meaning of the drawing, Shirabe began to mumble to himself.
なるほど。地を這い天を仰げってのはメッセージのありかを示す言葉だったのか。マイ、よくやったな。
Mai smiled so wide I thought she was going to hurt herself, and Shirabe gave her a crooked grin, apparently in spite of himself.
んだ次の問題はこの一生三円ってやつだけどよ。これ
それはおそらく一升三円、つまり農商酸と農塩酸を1対3の割合で混ぜるということだと思います。皆さんも学生の頃科学で習ったかもしれませんが、これは
王水か。
その通りです。
What's that?
王水とは通常の酸にも溶けない金やプラチナなどでさえ溶かすことができる酸。
つまりその割合で薬品を混ぜればその王水ができるということだな。
はい。
よし、早速やってみよう。
Picked up 2 jars and looked around.
何か容器はないか。
How about this? I handed a beaker I found on the ground to Shindo, and he nodded.
よし、念のためみんな離れていろよ。
Carefully measured out the right amount of each substance and added them to the beaker, which was soon filled with a reddish-orange liquid.
さて、あとはこの王水をどうするかだが。
Shido and Shirabe looked thoughtful.
ああ、おそらくあの鍵穴のない錠前にかけるんだろうな。貸してくれ。
Shido did, and Shirabe walked over to the lock and upended the beaker of Aqua Regia all over it. It's melting.
成功だね。
魔法みたい。
The melted lock fell to the floor with a thud as it did. The PA crackled to life again.
人体実験室クリア。
よし、これで先に進める。
Began to file out the room with Mai holding onto Mitsuri's hand, and following behind. It's kinda cute. A text from Uncle Keiji. I pulled my phone and began to
状
read.
況は分かった。もしどうしても気になるなら直接確かめてみるべきだ。そいつらのことを仲間だと思っているならなお。
Yeah, I guess you're right. I took a deep breath and strode up to Shirabe. Can I ask you something?
ん？なんだ、お嬢ちゃん。
Everyone else had already left, but we were alone. Last night I saw you talking to someone through the Hogstein statue. He blinked in surprise, but his face quickly twisted into a sour grimace.
参ったな。しかし、これは俺個人の問題だ。お前さんに何か言うつもりはない。
He started to move towards the exit. Wait.
くどいぞ。
We have to trust one another if we're going to cooperate. And we have to cooperate if we're going to get through the other attractions. If we don't trust each other, everything's going to fall apart. I want to trust you, but I can't do that if you're going to keep stuff from me like this. I planted my feet and looked at him in the eye. Shirabe stared back for a long moment, then rolled his eyes and let out an exasperated sigh.
確かに、舞のことでみんなに面倒をかけるのに、自分が秘密を抱え込んでいるのはフェアじゃないな。
Spill it.
ああ。
By now everyone else had made their way to the back room, possibly because they'd gotten tired of waiting for us.
一体どうしたんだ。
Well... I buttoned up to speak quickly, and when I finished, Shirabe began to speak.
俺はずっとある事件を追っている。ここに来たのも実は取材が目的じゃない。ある日 M2 と名乗る謎の人物から電話があってな。 オープニングイベントに来れば真実がわかると言われたんだ。ゆうべワルドブーのやつと話をしていたのは、その M2 がワルドブーなのかを確認したかったからだ。まあ結局とぼけられちまったんだが。
He sighed and scratched at his beard.
誓って言うが、裏切り者ってのは俺のことじゃないぜ。
まあそうだよね。もし裏切り者が調べさんなら舞ちゃんを巻き込むわけないし。
You're right, I'm sorry I suspected you, Shirabe.
いや、俺も隠していて悪かった。
Then the pig was lying about there being a traitor. My uncle's advice had been right on the money. All my fears about Shirabe were gone.
さて、改めて先を急ごう。タイムリミットまであと2時間しかない。
Let's go.
案内板の情報からすれば、これが最後の部屋のはずだ。
Records, right? There were several wounded desks. There were several wooden desks spaced evenly throughout the room. On top of each one was a mountain of documents and old computers. Surrounding the desks were rows of bookshelves.
あそこに
On top of the desks was a treasure chest about the size of an open hand. Next to it was a pair of clippers.
この宝箱、机に固定されてやがる。
You see it too, Wilder. Hold on, can I do a little rendition?
Oh, 本当だ。動かないね。
ちょっと待て。無理に動かすな。
Everyone else stepped back as Shido approached the box and slowly opened the lid.
これは
あ？なんだこれ。変な機械が入ってんな。
Bomb, maybe? Wires ran to an LCD panel that changed 1456 as we watched it change to 1445 and 1454. 50, not 40. Oh no.
次元爆弾だな。
It's a bomb. Of course it is.
まさかこのアトラクションを吹き飛ばすための。
いやいやいやいや、待てって。まだ2時間残ってんだろ。
The timer only has 14 minutes.
さらば血塗られたホスピタルよ。私は全ての罪と引き換えにこの煉獄から解放される。
The voice of the announcer filled the room and then was gone.
思い出した。
何をです？
確かゲームでは研究者だった主人公が脱出するとき、ゾンビ研究の全てを吹き飛ばすために、それが血まみれホスピタルのエンディングだった。
なるほど。つまりこれが最後の仕掛け。
配線は全部で7本か。この中に間違いが一体何本入ってるのか。
もしかして正解の確率は7分の1だったりして。
落ち着け。 危険な時ほど冷静になるべきだ。まずはクリア失敗の条件を一度整理してみよ
まず心拍数が高くなりすぎて恐怖ゲージのアラームが振り切れたらアウトです。すでに2人がアウトになっているのであと1人でクリア失敗です。
次に次元爆弾のタイマーがゼロになったらクリア失敗。あと
And if we cut the wrong wires, then we'd be really in trouble.
つまりそれって結局どういうことだ？
要は心拍数が増加しないよう落ち着いて時間ギリギリまで粘ってどの配線をカットするかを決めるってことだな。
その通りだ。カットする配線のヒントを得るためにアナウンスの文章から怪しい部分を洗い出そう。
さらば血塗られたホスピタルよ。私は全ての罪と引き換えにこの煉獄から解放される。
煉獄ってなんだろ
本来ならダンテの新曲に出てくる場所の名前だが、まあこの場合は病院のことを指してるんだろうな。新曲ってのは地獄編、煉獄編、天国編の三部構成からなる叙事詩だ。このアトラクションの入り口に書かれてた一切の希望を捨てよって言葉もその一節だ。
Shirabe tapped his middle finger against his forehead as he spoke.
煉獄ってのは生前に罪を犯した者が罪を償う場所を言う。罪とされるのは傲慢、嫉妬、憤怒、怠惰、貪欲、暴食、色欲。
俗に言う7つの大罪か。
よくわかんねえけどアナウンスで言ってる罪ってのは何なんだ？
このゲームの主人公はここで働いていた研究者の一人なんだ。軍の命令で人体実験を繰り返し不死の存在ゾンビを作り出してた。記憶を失った状態で病院内を探索してた主人公は自分の研究日誌を見つけて読み返すことで記憶を取り戻していく。
ってことは罪ってのは
ゾンビを生み出す研究、人体実験のことだろうね。
アナウンスの解読はひとまずこんなところか。あとはこの資料室の探索だな。時間がない。
Right. We all ran off to different parts of the room and began looking desperately for anything that might give us a hint that we needed. Not seeing anything, the books and stuff are all fake and the computer won't even turn on. Grabbed a drawer, expecting it to be fake too, and I was surprised when it opened.
どうしました？
There's a notebook in here, it says research notes. I lifted out carefully as everyone crowded in around me. So 5 of these pieces of coloured paper stuck in. What do you think they mean?
お嬢ちゃん、その付箋のページを開いてみてくれ。
As I did, he suggested. Found a page full of scribbled notes, one with one word circled in what looked like blood.
何これ、気持ち悪い。
どうやら付箋のついたページそれぞれに丸がつけられているようだな。丸がついてる言葉は何だ？
妬まれて憤った怠けた暴れて色のいや
人体実験の罪の重さで気が変になっていたのかもしれないね。
Wait. The others were still gathered around the notebook discussing it, but I felt as if I was on the verge of some sort of mental breakdown. Or break through, not break down. I feel like I've heard those words before. Also, the 7 wires as well as 7 deadly sins, with the divine comedy being a theme. Seven deadly sins, of course, that's it.
どうした?
Look at the words that he circled. Some of those basically synonyms for the sins.
何?
嫉妬、憤怒、怠惰、暴食、色欲。そうか、確かに言われてみれば同じだな。
しかし高慢と貪欲が足りないようだが。
あのさ、同じって言えばノートについてる付箋の色も爆弾の配線と同じ色だよね。
You're right.
よし、いいぞ。もう一度整理しよう。爆弾の配線は7本、それと同じ色の付箋が5つある。赤と青の2本分が足りない。付箋の言葉は5つの罪に対応している。高慢と貪欲の2つが足りない。
とするとだ、この赤と青の配線が高慢と貪欲に当たるってことか。
この2本切りゃタイマーが止まるのか？
いや、焦るな。ただ単にヒントに対応していない配線を見つけただけだ。
6 minutes.
まごまごしてる暇はねえぜ。
Mike jumped at Mitsurush's change in tone and took a step back from him.
くそ、どこかに何か決定的な情報が隠されているはずなんだが。
The ticking clock was making everyone frantic, and I could tell we were losing focus. I need to calm down. I was trying desperately to get my thoughts in order when Shindo caught my eye.
稲船咲、ここまでで何か気になった点はないか？時間がない今、お前のひらめきにかけたい。
What? Oh, what am I gonna do? Got it, I'll do my best. I gave him a firm nod.
頼む。
念のため俺たちも一緒に考えよう。
Yeah. Maybe there's something in that announcement that we've missed, or something that we've skipped over. I mean, there has to be. These puzzles are tough, but they're solvable. That's it, all these sins. It has to mean that we're supposed to cut all the sins in the journal. That's the answer.
それだ。みんなもそれでいいの。
ああ、乗ったぜ。
おそらくそれで間違いないだろう。
乗った。
僕も賛成だよ。
マイも。
よし、俺たちはお前のひらめきに乗る覚悟を決めた。恨みっこはなしだ。
He grinned and picked up the clippers. There were 4 minutes left on the clock.
いいか、恐怖ゲージを振り切らないようみんな落ち着けよ。切るぞ。
Slowly and carefully, Shindo cut each of the wires, avoiding the red and the blue ones.
次で最後だな。
ああ、行くぞ。
The snap clippers were cut through the last wire. No.
なんでだよ。なんでタイマーが止まらねえんだ。
Time is still counting down.
クリア失敗になっていないということはここまでは間違いじゃない。だが
Does this mean one of the remaining wires needs to be cut too?
もうどっちか決めて切っちゃうしかないよ。
Mikasa moaned.
このままクリア失敗するよりはマシかも。
いや、だがしかし。
よし、赤だ。俺の感じは怪しいのは赤だ。貸せ。
He lunged forward to take the clippers from Shindo. Wait.
時間がねえっつうのは。
Someone didn't stop him. He was going to cut it and leapt towards Mitarashi.
いいえ、青です。
At last, Arabe spoke.
浦部君まろ。その根拠は何だ。
日誌の色です。見て。
It's blue.
人体実験のことを綴ったこの日誌は、それ自体が持ち主の罪だと言えるでしょう。
That would make sense, actually. There's something oddly certain about his tone.
なるほどな。だがお前さん、なんでそれに気づいた？
Shirabe. He didn't look happy.
おいおい、残り2分だぜ。どうすんだよ。
Shido turned to face Arabe as well.
王水の化学式も今思えば唐突だったな。
それってどういうこと？二人とも何が言いたいんだよ。
I didn't know what was going on, but I could feel a knot beginning to form at the bottom of my stomach.
それはそれは私こそが裏切り者だからです。
Well, that's shocking. What? All around the room, eyes widened in shock. But that was just something Hogstein said to shake us up. His sad expression was enough to confirm my worst fears. No, this can't be happening. I was still reeling when Shido spoke up.
分かった。理由は後で聞こう。今は時間がない。
He reached for the blue wire.
ちょっと自分で裏切り者だって言ってる人の言葉信じちゃうの？
should we do? His theory was interesting, about the journal being blue. Of all times for Arabe to tell us that he's a traitor, though, all of a sudden. I'd think twice, though, to be fair. Something seems off.
だよね。
だけど答えを聞いた今、それがどうしても正解に思える。
We had less than a minute on the timer. We had to make our decision, red or the blue.
俺は腹を決めたぜ。こいつが裏切り者だろうがなんだろうが信じるしかねえんだろ。
Fair enough. With this ultimatum given, Mitarashi turned his back to the bomb and sat down cross-legged on the floor.
おじちゃん？
おじちゃんじゃねっつうの。お兄ちゃん。
He lifted Maya up onto his knee and put a protective arm around her.
まあそういうことだな。
He nodded and moved to stand between Mitarashi and the bomb in what was likely a vain attempt to shield her from the blast.
切るぞ。
He looked around at us one last time. We all nodded. Shido held the clippers to the wire and squeezed the grip and cut it.
爆発は起こらない。
タイマーは残り5秒で止まってる。
ってことは。
We'd done it. Smiles began to break out when
ワルドブ
oh no. Timer suddenly started to count down again. Before we knew it, the numbers hit 0.
ゲームステージ3クリア失敗。
The announcement hit me like a punch to the stomach.
そんなあれが正解だと昨夜あなた自身が口にしたではありませんか。
And Hogstein moving the goalpost. I mean, what else is new? His voice was a mere weird mix of anger and desperation.
"すべての配線だと?じゃあ付箋が2つ足りなかったのも日誌が青かったのもすべてブラフだったってのか?"
まさかこんなくだらない、いやむしろ奴らしい。気づいて叱るべきだった。俺としたことが。
It was all a trick. I didn't know what else to say. That's right, we failed, so the bombs were about to go off.
おい、脱出するぞ。
脱出って言っても。
Since Hogstein's revelation, our bed looked empty and beaten. And now he suddenly straightened up.
こちらです。
He headed over to a nearby bookshelf and tapped on one of the books. The entire shelf slid to the side, revealing a doorway.
扉が。
ここから外に出られます。皆さん早く。
We didn't wait for him to say it twice and ran through the door as fast as we could.
とにかく走れ。
Just try and get a sugar-free cake, dude.
おうマイ、振り落とされないようにしっかり捕まってろよ。
That might actually help you in the long run, actually, getting some sugar-free stuff. That might prevent breakouts, to be fair. Where's Arabe? I look back over my shoulder.
すみませんでした。
Wasn't even sure I'd heard it. Arabe? His name was barely out of my mouth when I heard an explosion. Not even a second later, that shockwave hit me, throwing me forward. Smoke instantly filled the hallway and I stumbled forward, blinded. I can't keep going.
どうしたのさ、こんなところで。ほ
Castle.
ら、早くしないとここ全部崩れちゃうよ。
Cossa's voice was trembling with fear and his body was shaking like a leaf, but let's go. He took off at a run, although Acosta's face was so pale like he might keel over from sheer terror at any minute. I hadn't gotten very far before I heard another explosion from behind us. Blast slammed me and I felt my body begin to fall away.
大丈夫か。
Someone caught me before I fell.
おい、しっかりしろ。
Midarashi. I didn't know where he appeared to catch
怪
me.
我はねえか。
No, I'm fine. Wakasa, you okay?
平気。
Thank goodness. Another blast hit us far more powerful than others, and then everything went dark.
Oi, 大丈夫か?
My eyes fluttered open and I saw Shido bending over me. The smoke had cleared, so I figured I must have been out for a while. What happened to the hospital?
ご覧のざまだぜ。
I spun around. Midarashi was right. There was nothing but a mass of twisted smoke and debris. Oh my gosh. I tried to stand up there, but the escape had taken all I had in me. My legs just didn't have the strength. Everyone else was silent. Wait, Arabe? What about Arabe?
どこにも見当たらない。脱出途中に一人別の道を行ったのかもしれないな。おそらく無事だとは思うが。
No. I bit my lip.
ち、あいつ妙に一人で抱え込んでる感じだったよな。
みたらしさん、大丈夫？
大丈夫だ。ちょっと腹をやっちまったみたいだな。
Next voice I heard was one I'd never been happy to never hear again.
Sama, よくも舞を巻き込んでくれたな。これは俺たち7人のゲームだったはずだ。舞を巻き込むのはルール違反だろう。いやいやいや、びっくりしたのは私の方ですとも。まさか小さい女の子が紛れ込んでるなんて思いもしないじゃないですか。これは想定外だったんですよ。お分かり？
監視しているくせによく言う。
あ
Pig's gaze turned towards her. Maya scurried around behind Midarashi.
そうだ。それじゃあ、その子の参加者としてゲームに加えちゃいましょう。そちらは仲間が一人増えてラッキー。こちらは一人多く済ませてきてラッキー。まさに誰も損しないアイデアです。
おいおい、相手は子供なんだぜ。
You should just let Maya leave the park.
何をどう言おうが、ごく結構です。
I wasn't going to let Maya go, but I felt my hands bailing into fists. He doesn't listen to us all and he barely follows his own rules. He just makes stuff up as he goes along. He's so excited about offing someone else. It's awful, what a jerk. Putting a little girl like that in mind danger is just no restraint. To make her angry, he might just come to something else worse. Yeah, we're gonna have to stay quiet. Barely made my decision when Shirabe apparently made his own.
ふざけるな。そんなこと許すわけないだろう。舞をゲームに加えるだと。考え直してもらおうか。
今とは冗談です。ちょっとしたジョークですから。
I frowned.
はあ？
そもそも私は他の生贄なんて求めてませんし。
It almost felt serious.
そういうわけでまた明日。バイバイ。
He was gone and the screen flicked off.
くそ。
We all sat down exhausted. Game of the day had been beaten, but Arabe hadn't been able to stop the bomb and Arabe had disappeared. We didn't even know if he was alive. I'm not sure how long we sat there before Shido suggested we go get something to eat. Didn't feel very hungry, but Maya, apparently oblivious to the larger things at stake, was starving. We lumbered to our feet and headed in that direction. As soon as we stepped inside the restaurant, Miyoshi headed over to one of the piglets and began discussing something with it. What are they talking about? Didn't take long for me to find out.
黒子に治療を頼んだ。みたらしさんの
え？
怪我辛そうだから。
A piglet approached and gestured for Mitsurushi to accompany it.
もうちょっと行ってくるわ。
We nodded and he disappeared off into the kitchen.
とにかく今は明日のためにも何か腹に入れないとな。
そうだな。
We all ordered and began to eat when Mitarashi returned. Dinner was quiet unlike the night before, and it was hardly surprising one of our companions had gone missing. The image, the smoking wreckage of the hospital refused to leave my mind. Nobody's talking. I looked around the table, everyone's expressions was dark and gloomy.
浦部さんってさ。
What?
いや、やっぱなんでもない。
He shook his head and tried to go back to eating.
なあほら、きっと奴にもなんか事情があったんだろうぜ。
そんなの本人がいないんじゃ本当のことはわからないよ。
そりゃそうだけどよ。
しかし奴のおかげで結果的に俺たちは助かった。一人も欠けることなくここにいる。
Yeah, he saved our lives. That seemed to end the conversation. We went back to eat in silence. Probably all wondering what to do next. I hope the robbery was safe.
そういや、ワルド部のやつ、妙なことを言ってたな。
他の生贄なんて求めてない。
それのどこが妙なんだよ。
裏を返せば俺たちのことは生贄として求めているとも取れるからな。
なるほどな。あいつてっきり当てずっぽで俺たちを選んだもんだとばかり思ってたけどよ。
もしかしたら俺たちは生贄として意図的にこのランドに集められた可能性があるんじゃないか。
Shido had been running security and Wakasa had been invited as a celebrity guest. Miyoshi had come for an exclusive DLC. I was pretty sure Midarashi had come just because he wanted to be there for the opening of the new park. And Shirabi had just been brought to the park by a mysterious phone call. You certainly wouldn't think these guys have anything in common by looking at them. Is there something else going on behind the games that we couldn't see? We finished our meals and split up to look for Arabe before the hotel docked. But either he wasn't out there or he didn't want to be found, and we met back at the dock exhausted.
残念だがこれ以上探している時間はなさそうだな。
No.
そうだな。明日もゲームは続く。体を休める必要もある。
もう失敗はできねえ。二度とな。
ああ。
Heavy hearts, we ended our search and headed into the hotel. Where did you go? We were way too exhausted to carry on any sort of conversation, so after short goodbyes, we headed off into our own rooms. I collapsed into my bed as soon I was close enough to do so, expecting that I'd be asleep in minutes, but that didn't happen. I wonder where Arabe is. I kept thinking about him and about the hospital getting blown up. Why was Arabe working with Hogstein? And why'd that stupid pig have to blow up part of Uncle Keiji's park after he worked so hard on it? Maybe if he'd just tried harder. Ugh, I've got too much to think about. No way I'm getting to sleep. I sat up and sighed. And if anyone else is having trouble sleeping, I didn't want to be a whiner, but I felt like I had to talk to this stuff with someone. He'd be visiting me this late. I opened the door to find
やっほ、やっぱり起きてた。
Wakasa.
きっと眠れないでいるんじゃないかと思って来てみたんだけど、やっぱりね。
You were worried about me?
さあ、僕こう見えても意外に気を使うアイドルだったりするんだよね。なんて。それもあるけど、本当はなんとなく一人でいたくない気分だったからなんだ。
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
じゃあ一緒だね。
There's just so much going on in my head right now, you know. I wanted to talk to someone else about it.
あるよね、そういう
Someone
こと
about it.
そもそも今回のことなんて全然わからないことだらけだし、浦部さんが僕らのことあんな風に助けてくれようとしてたってことは本当は裏切りたくなかったんだろうなとか、そんなこと考えちゃって。
Yeah.
もっと早く相談してくれればよかったのにとかさ。
I thought so too.
でもさ、それって結局僕らがそうさせてなかったのかもななんて反省もしたりして。
Maybe it's not like there's any way to know now.
分かってる。だからさ、悔しい気持ちはあるけど明日のゲームにまず勝たないとって。
Mikasa.
それがさ、浦部さんのためにもなると思わない？
I think so. He gave us a second chance after all.
そうだからさ、僕ら明日のアトラクションこそは失敗できないなって思ってる。
Thanks.
なんで俺、今僕自分の言いたいことを言っただけなんだけど。
I was thinking the same thing. It's nice to know I'm not alone.
同じ気持ちでいられることか。確かにそれって嬉しいことかもね。
Why?
素直な気持ちを言葉にするって難しいでしょ。君にだったらそうしてもいいって思えたから。
Oh, you're welcome. His smile was amazing, although I suppose I should have expected that from someone like him. We should probably get some sleep, so we'll be ready for tomorrow.
そうだね。それじゃあまた明日ね。
He gave my hand a friendly squeeze, turned and left. Gosh, my heart's pounding. I feel better though. Alright, time for me to get some sleep. I was going to need my rest. The sooner I got into bed, the better.
お姉ちゃん。
Mai, what are you doing here?
お姉ちゃんと一緒に寝てもいい？
Of course, if it's okay with your dad.
大丈夫。
He did say that they don't live together, so maybe she feels kind of uncomfortable staying with him. Okay, let's get in bed then. I tucked her in and then turned off the lights and climbed into bed myself. This is kind of like having a little sister. Mai was already snoring softly. I let my eyes drift closed. Oh, another locket scene. For the rest of my life, I'd never forget the taste of that ice cream.
お兄ちゃん、次何に乗る？次はコーヒーカップにしよう。ちょっと待って、あなたたち。そんなにいっぺんに乗り物に乗ったらすぐに疲れちゃうわよ。
そうだぞ。まだ時間もたっぷりあるさ。アイスクリームでも食べて休憩しよ
ママが買ってきてあげる。僕チョコレート。あかねはバニラ。はい、どうぞ。いただきまーす。いただきまーす。
And now we're on stage 4. I'm just going to quickly save here because we've just done an entire chapter. I'll be doing there we go, I've saved. I'll be doing no, I don't want to quit out. I'll be doing another chapter now, and then I'll be heading off after the second chapter's done. I'm gonna try and do 2 chapters per stream, basically. I could barely lift my head and I woke up and my body felt too sore to even move. I guess I'm still worn out from yesterday. I watched the sun rise through the window as I thought about everything that happened. It fell to complete blood-stained hospital. It blew up like Hogstein promised and Urabe betrayed us. If Mitarashi hadn't protected me back there, I probably would have died. But now he's injured again. I'm just starting to feel like all I do is get him hurt. While I lay wrestling with my guilt, Mai shifted next to me.
お姉ちゃん
Oh, did I wake you?
おはよ
Good morning to you too. You can go back to bed if you want.
でもお腹すいた
There was a knock at the door. It's probably a piglet with our breakfast.
やあおはよ
Wakasa. Instead of the piglet, Wakasa stood on the other side of the door. He gave me a friendly smile.
調子はどうかなと思って来てみたんだけど
I'm fine, thanks.
そっかよかったねえ僕今からみたらしさんの様子を見に行こうと思うんだけど君
Yeah, I've been worried.
さじゃあすぐに
Mai suddenly appeared at my elbow and squealed happily.
少年時代ジュニアのトワくんだ
Oh, that's right. You didn't realize who he was yesterday.
昨日はみんなの顔あんまり見てなかったから
Oh, yeah, it was kind of crazy back there. She must have been terrified, and even after we escaped, she was probably too exhausted to understand what was happening.
本物のトワくんだ
Mai stared at him, her eyes wide, bouncing on her toes and grinning with excitement. Costa got down to her level and smiled brightly at her.
僕のこと知ってるの嬉しいな
舞少年時代ジュニア大好きトワくんかっこいいもん
そっかありがとうまいちゃん
Hearing him say her name seemed to make her even happier. She suddenly started to fidget. What is it? Do you want to ask him something?
トワくんのお歌聞きたい
歌
It was rather sudden, but he nodded. Not put out in the least.
いいよじゃあ一曲だけね
Mai grinned. Casa jumped onto the bed and posed dramatically. He smiled as he launched into a catchy pop tune, dancing to the beat right in front of us. Must have been one of the Junior Boys' most popular songs, even though I'd heard it on TV before. His voice was clear and strong, and he didn't miss a beat dancing while singing. He's really good. When the song ended, Wakasa turned and gave a wink to Mai.
まいちゃん聞いてくれてありがとう
トワくんかっこいい
She watched the performance in a rapt attention. Now she nearly glowed with happiness, a huge smile across her face.
僕も久しぶりに歌えてすごく楽しかったよ
Wakasa, you're an amazing singer.
そりゃアイドルだもん当然でしょ
I thought performers just lip sync.
そういう人もいるけど僕らはテレビに出る時もちゃんと歌ってるよ
That's kind of cool.
だってせっかくステージが用意されてるのに口パクなんてもったいないでしょ
Are and he's confident about himself. His smile is pretty charming. And I thought about it before, he really is a pop star. It's kind of awesome.
どうしたの急に。
Look at Mai, she's over the moon. I think it's great that you're able to make someone smile like that. Wakasa nodded.
だって僕そのためにアイドルになったんだもん。みんなを笑顔にするのは僕の一番の仕事だからね。でも
Trailed off, his expression clouded. That was strange.
ねえ、そろそろみたらしさんの様子を見に行こうよ。僕そのために呼びに来たんだし。
Right, do you want to come with us, Mai?
よし、じゃあ3人で行こ
Oh, can you wait a couple of minutes? We need to get ready.
う。じゃあ僕廊下で待ってる。ついでに朝ごはんはみたらしさんの部屋で食べるって黒子に言っとくから。
Good idea, thanks. Let's go get dressed now, alright? I hope Midarashi isn't hurting too bad.
みたらしさん、おはよう。
おう、お前らか。
Good morning.
おはよう、お兄ちゃん。
朝っぱらから元気だな。お、今度は誰だ？
It's probably a piglet of our breakfast. Is it okay that we eat here with you?
ああ、飯はみんなで一緒に食った方がうまいからな。
Piglet entered the room and placed our food around the table and quickly left. Time to eat. As I dug into my breakfast, I snuck a look at Midarashi. He definitely had an appetite, judging by the way he wolfed down everything in front of him. Thanks for serving me yesterday, by the way.
気にすんな。お前が無事でよかったぜ。
Did you get hurt badly?
あ、黒子にしっかり手当てしてもらったからな。心配いらねえよ。
Oh, good. Get better soon, okay?
おうよ。
I turned to grin at Wakasa when I noticed he'd stopped eating, an unusually serious look on his face. What is it? Is something wrong? He abruptly looked over to the bed.
みたらしさん、ごめんね。
あ？どうしたんだよ急に。
昨日さきちゃんの一番近くにいたのは僕だったのに、もし僕が動けてたらみたらしさんもこんな怪我なんてしなくて済んだかもしれない。
His face tightened as he looked down at his plate. Wakasa. Midarashi lightly cuffed him on the head.
何言ってんだ。考えすぎだろ。
そんなことないよ。僕が弱虫だったからこんなことに。
弱虫。お前、自分のことをそんな風に思ってんのか？
僕、みたらしさんみたいに強くなりたいよ。怯えたり怖がったりしないで、何にでも立ち向かっていける力が欲しい。弱虫な自分にさよならしたいんだ。
若さ。
どうしたらみたらしさんみたいに強くなれるのかな。
Wakasa was practically pleading with him, his eyes hopeful.
強くか。俺だって昔は結構弱虫だったんだぜ。
そうなの？とてもそんな風には見えないけど。
はあ、そうさ。最初から強いやつなんて言いやしねえよ。ただ強さってのは誰かの笑顔を守るためにどれだけ自分が頑張れるかじゃねえかな。男の強さってのはそういうもんだと思うぜ。
誰かの笑顔を守る。
ああ、お前そういう相手はいるか？何があっても守ってやりたいって思うような相手は。
どうだろう。みたらしさんにはそんな人はいるの？
あ？俺か？俺にとっちゃ 大事なのは店に来る客の女たちだな。あいつらがいなきゃ俺の商売上がったりだ。
Midarashi, what are you saying? It's hard to tell if he was joking or totally serious.
とにかく僕も強くなるために、誰かを守るために頑張るところから始めてみる。
な、努力しねえと何も変わらねえからな。頑張れよ、とわ。
Makasha grinned at the use of his first name.
強くなれるように頑張るよ、流星さん。
I hope you find someone you want to make happy.
とわくん頑張って。
ありがとう、二人とも。
Just then, Shido, Shirabe, and Miyoshi entered the room.
お前たちもここに来てたのか。
うん、流星さんと一緒に朝ごはん食べようと思ってさ。
そうか。それで怪我の具合はどうだ。
なあ、これくらいなんでもねえよ。ほら、この通り。
おいおい、無理するんじゃない。その状態じゃ歩くことはできても走ったりはできんだろう。
無理されても足手まといになるだけだと思う。
ああ、
おい、朝っぱらから喧嘩するんじゃない。そうだな。無理をして怪我が悪化したら元も子もない。みたらし流星、お前は今日一日休んでいろ。ゲームは俺たちで何とかする。
何言ってんだよ。俺も。
ゲームは今日で終わりじゃない。明日のためにも今日は休んどけ。マイ、流星お兄ちゃんと留守番できるか？
マジかよ。こんな可愛い子が看病してくれるなら無理できねえな。
そうだよ流星さん、今日は僕に任せてよ。
Costa sounded like he was trying to convince himself. Midarashi shrugged and leaned back with a wry grin.
分かった分かった。じゃあ俺の分までお前が活躍してきてくれよ。とわ。
よし、決まりだな。今日は俺たち5人でゲームに挑むぞ。
Right.
僕頑張るよ。
Clenched his fists if he was making himself a promise. We entered the plaza and Hogstein was already on the screen, waiting for us. This time made me want to punch something, but instead I just ground my teeth and kept quiet.
みたらし流星の一時戦線離脱を認めてもらいたい。怪我で弱っている人間がいてもゲームがつまらなくなるだけだろう。
Oh. Suddenly the world darkened, and the ground appeared to tilt. Arms reached to hold me up, and I turned to see Wakasa.
どうしたの？
Oh, sorry, I just got lightheaded. What's going on?
昨日の疲れがまだ抜けてないんじゃない？あんまり無理しないでね。
Maybe you're right, thanks.
心配するのは当たり前だよ。女の子は笑顔が一番なんだから。
Yeah. I stumbled to a bench nearby to sit down. I could hear the others talking, but not what they were saying. Wonder what's going on. I think sitting helped. I had to keep my eyes closed for a while and breathing deep. I felt the dizziness leave. I hurried back to join the group. Sorry about that.
ふざけるな。そんな条件があるか。
人の命を何だと思ってるんだ。
Everyone was yelling angrily at the screen. Oh gosh, what did I miss?
もう体は大丈夫？
Yeah, I'm good now. What just happened?
流星さんが戦線離脱することはワルド部も認めたんだけど、今後ゲームのクリアに失敗するごとに人質を一人ずつ始末するって言い出したんだ。
What?
何か言おうにも通信を切っちゃって、あいつ僕たちの言うことを聞くつもりなんてまるでないんだ。
落ち着こう。俺たちはどのみちクリアに失敗できないんだ。これまでとやることは変わらないさ。
そうだよね。クリアすれば今までと同じだよね。弱気になっちゃいけない。
Right. I'm good with them both, but I couldn't stop myself from worrying. I have no idea what theme that's supposed to be. Shooting colony. Oh, first person shooter then.
それで今日のアトラクションの内容だが、
So is this going to be like Halo or
そういえば
something?
みたらしがいないんだったな。
大丈夫。聞いてきたから。
そうか、助かった。それで内容は？
シューティングコロニーのアトラクションはムーンライトオックス。
ねえ、本当にもう大丈夫なの？なんだかちょっと顔色が悪いけど。
Kasha spoke quietly to me while Miyoshi explained the attraction. Huh? I feel fine mostly.
それならいいけど、もし辛かったら声かけてね。
I will, thanks. That was rather sweet of him. Miyoshi finished talking and realized I'd missed the whole thing.
ここから先は5人での戦いだ。相当過酷な状況になることは間違いない。気を抜くなよ。
Arabe gave us this chance. We have to do our best. Looked around at each other and nodded. We approached the entrance. I felt like we'd stepped onto the moon. Building towered over a bunch of craters.
ようこそ 目の前とオックスへ。さて、コンビを組んだ2人の溢れんばかりの夏パワーで崩壊したコロニーから脱出してもらいます。
Piglet appeared gesturing wildly at us.
何言ってんのかな。
Maybe he wants us to get on those spaceships. Off to the side were several spaceships just like the ones seen in movies.
どうやら二人一組になれと言っているようだな。
でも僕たち5人だよ。1人余っちゃう。
残ったやつは一人で乗るしかないな。よ
し、じゃあ組み分けをするか。
For some reason Mikasa looked straight at me.
ねえ、僕と一緒に乗らない？
What? Why me?
ほら、この中で一番弱いのは女の子の君だから。僕が守ってあげる。
Oh, that's right. Miller actually told him to try and look out for someone. He was taking that advice to heart, and it made me happy to see him so determined. You can do it. Counting on you. Tiny shy smile appeared on his face.
もちろんだよ。僕と一緒にいれば絶対安全だから。
Alright.
よし、じゃあ若さとお嬢ちゃんは決まりでいいな。あとはどうする？
俺が一人で乗る。刑事として民間人を自分以上の危険にさらすことはできない。
そうか。じゃあすまんが頼む。三好、俺と一緒に乗ろうぜ。
いいよ。誰と乗っても同じだし。
Maybe he wants us to hurry.
よし、行こうよ。
Let's do this together. Climbed on board 3 ships, each pair in one and Shido alone. Here we go. As soon as we sat down, each ship lurched forward in a separate direction. The paths are splitting out. I thought we were all going to be together.
大丈夫だよ。君のことは僕が守るから安心。
Okay. Now he'd set a goal up for himself, really seemed fired up.
この小型艇ってどうやって操縦するのかな。よっと。
Makarasa spun the steering wheel and the whole spaceship turned in response.
ごめんね。ほら、このハンドルで向きを変えられるみたいだよ。
Let me see. Fiddled with the wheel and discovered that we could turn the ship 360 degrees.
こっちの銃みたいなのは。わ、すごい。レーザーガンが撃てるんだ。
コロニー損傷度 56%。搭乗員は脱出ゲートを目指し速やかに避難してください。
ここから脱出できたらゲームクリアってことになるのかな。
Probably. The moment the announcement finished, the cockpit display began to flicker to life. Oh, this is a map. It looks like the exit is to the left.
よし、行こう。敵が出てきても。
Leave the steering to me then. Big grin split his face as he eagerly grabbed the handle to the gun. He's acting like a big kid in a candy store. He's obviously having a blast. Wish I could say the same. I was happy to see him having fun, even if it was in the middle of a dangerous situation. Suddenly my sight turned blurry for a second. I feel kind of dizzy. It's happened before too. What's going on?
どうかしたの？ぼんやりしちゃって。
Oh, it's nothing. I was just thinking you look like you're enjoying this. He nodded vigorously.
僕ね、小さい頃からずっと芸能界で働いてたから。すごく忙しくて、こういう遊園地なんてロケ以外で来たことないんだ。
So this is your first time doing something like this.
だからすっごくワクワクする。ってうわっ
Gross looking alien had appeared in front of the Wakasa. Of Wakasa, I should say, sorry. Its eyes glowed and similar light came from a jewel in its forehead. Watch out!
こいつくらえ。外れちゃった。
Shoot it again.
よし、照準をもっと右に。
The alien shot at our ship, rocking it violently.
くそ、次こそは。えい。当たった。
Laser from the gun hit the alien square in the middle of its chest, but it didn't seem to do anything. I think it's a bit obvious you've got to shoot the gem.
機体の青い宝石を撃つんだ。
There we go. What? Miyoshi's voice came from the speaker in the upper cockpit. We could hear the others. The jewel.
そう、小型艇にも同じ宝石がついてる。こっちもそれに当てられたら、おそらく撃墜されるんだと思う。
Oh, so this is more like a rail shooter essentially then.
わかった。当たれ。
The laser stuck in its forehead and the jewel turned red.
当たった。
Accompanied by the sound of an explosion, the alien toppled to the ground.
どうした。
We did it. I believe we grinned at each other. Can't let our guard down yet. Ship advanced along the track until the path split into two. To where should we go?
僕はどっちでも OK だよ。
He wants me to make the decision. We should probably choose together since we're a team.
そっか。いつもどうしたらいいかってマネージャーが決めてくれてたから。
What?
そう。だから僕、自分で何かを決めることってほとんどないんだ。
You're kidding. Can't believe what I was hearing.
でも、ここにはマネージャーはいないんだし、僕が自分で決めなくちゃいけないのかな。
Come to think of it, it was always Shindo or Shirabe who told us what to do before. Let's decide together then. Let's choose a path as a team and escape together.
そうだよね。
The smile he gave me then was so dazzling, I stopped breathing for a second. He's starting to do things on his own, I'm glad.
僕、頑張るからね。
I must have been staring because the tips of his ears turned pink and he looked away quickly.
マップを見ると、右が脱出ゲートに近いみたいだし、
Looks like there are more lights down that way. I think we should go in that direction too. Choices in agreement, we turn to go down the path on the right.
それにしても、自分で何かを決めるって、なんだかドキドキするね。
You think so? I never thought about it myself. I'm probably just not used to taking chances.
だといいんだけど、僕ね、大きな決断っていうのは自分がするものじゃない。誰かがきっと決めてくれるって思ってた。でも、それじゃダメなんだよね。僕、今まで何やってたんだろう。
I don't think it's your fault. No one ever let you do anything on your own, so of course you think that way.
そうかな。
It's not too late to try.
そうだね。僕、君と一緒だったら何でもできるような気がする。
He was smiling again. It was so infectious I couldn't help but smile back. The other alien suddenly popped up on the left side of the ship. Shoot it now. Quickly spun the ship to the left. This time the shot was a bullseye, striking the jewel dead center.
やった、一発だ。
We did it. We grabbed onto each other and did a little dance of glee. Keep working together like this, we can beat this game. Huh? I didn't know if it was all the spinning earlier, but I suddenly felt nauseous.
どうかしたの？
I feel I slumped over the dashboard, too dizzy to hold myself upright.
どうしたの？しっかりして。
Cuss appeared at my face closely and gasped.
すごい汗。ちょっとごめんね。
Palm of his hand touched my forehead. His hand's cold, feels good.
熱があるじゃない。どうして今まで黙ってたの？
I am.
気づかなかったって。さっきから体調悪そうだったけど。くそ。もっと早く僕が気づいてれば。
I'm okay, really, just a little dizzy. My voice trailed off. Mikasa was so focused on me that he couldn't see the alien that appeared behind him. Look out! Scrambled to cover him. Bullet struck me hard in the back.
サキちゃん。
Intense pain radiated out from the spot where I was hit. World flickered, dimmed.
くそ。
He dove for the gun, but the alien was faster. Its aim was true and the bullet hit the jewel on our spaceship. The ship bucked and shuddered violently, throwing me to the ground. I slammed into a wall.
シールド損傷確認。ゲームオーバーです。
Cruel announcement ended when our ship slowed to a stop on the track.
嘘だ。ゲームオーバーだなんて。
We failed. The alien that attacked us was gone. It was suddenly dead silent.
そんな。
Pain skidded across my back and I couldn't hold back a moan.
大丈夫？くそ。僕のせいだ。僕が隙を見せちゃったから。
おい、どうした？何かあったのか？
Radio crackled, but couldn't disguise the concern in Shirabe's voice. He must have realized something was wrong.
調べさん、サキちゃんが大変なんだ。熱がひどくて、それにエイリアンに撃たれて。
なんだと？おい、若さ、もっと。
調べさん、ね、どうしちゃったの？
Connection cut off as the line went dead.
どうしよう。僕はどうしたら。
Don't worry, it's not your fault. I wanted to speak, but couldn't seem to get my voice to work.
ワルド部。
この状況、あなた一人ではどうしようもないと言いませんか。若さとはさ。
ねえワルド部、僕たちを外に出して。このままじゃサキちゃんの具合がどんどん悪くなっちゃうよ。
ゲームの途中放置は重大です。他の参加者がゲームをクリアするか全員がゲームオーバーになるまであなた方にはここにいてもらいます。
そんな。
Tears threatened to fall as he desperately begged. Hogstein ignored
お
them.
願い、何でもするからサキちゃんを助けてよ。
あなた今何でもと言いました。
And you've played right into his hands, Wakasa. Well done.
何でもする。だからお願い。
面白い。いいでしょう。助けてあげましょう。
本当に？
ええ。そしてお二人をワルド分側にご招待して差し上げます。
Whatever he used to communicate cut off. What is he going to make Wakasa do? Even with that pain overwhelming my senses, I felt nervous about trusting Hogstein after everything he'd done so far.
しっかりして。これで助かるよ。
Don't worry. Two piglets came running out of the darkness. Gently lifted me out of the ship and secured me into the stretcher they brought.
大丈夫？痛い？
I'm okay.
僕も一緒に。分かっ
Keep
た。
going.
一緒に行くよ。
Pickets carried me out of the attraction because so close behind. The sun outside was so bright, my first reaction was to squint against it.
苦しい？大丈夫？痛かったらすぐに行ってね。
He hovered close to my shoulder as I was carried across the park. It's kind of sweet of him to be so concerned. Hey, Wakasa.
どうかした？
I'm sorry, it's my fault we got a game over.
そんなことないよ。僕こそ不注意で君に怪我させちゃってごめん。君のこと守るってあんな大見え切ったのにこんなことになっちゃって悔しい。本当に悔しいよ。
He looked down, fist clenched and mouth a narrow line. It seemed like he was more upset about me getting hurt than about losing the game. Stretcher swayed gently as the piglets continued to transport me away. We entered Castle Hogstein, and it looked exactly as I'd remembered. Of course, all I could see for a while was the huge chandelier dangling from the ceiling until the piglets took me off the stretcher. Thank you. They waved as if to say I shouldn't worry and left.
大丈夫？起きられる？
I think so.
無理しないで。ゆっくりね。
He supported me as I slowly struggled to get up.
無理しないでいいよ。ここに座ってて。
Thanks. The slightest shift in my body sent pain shooting through it. I gave up trying to stand and just stayed seated on the floor. At the other end of the room on the throne sat Hogstein. He cackled darkly, his belly jiggling. I could see Wakasa shaking next to me. He looked really scared. He gave Hogstein a glare. Maybe his determination to change was strengthening his resolve a bit.
どうして僕たちをここに連れてきたんだよ。
若さ父さん、あなたをお招きしたのは他でもありません。
お願い。
No, it was probably just a trap, but be careful, okay? Even Grog, I didn't trust him further than I could throw him. Kossa nodded in agreement and turned resolutely back to
お
Hogstein.
願いって何？
若さ父さん、あなた、裏切り者になりませんか？
え？
He wouldn't.
どういうことだよそれ。
実は裏で君まろさんがいなくなってちょうど困っていたところなんです。もし手伝ってくれるのでしたら彼女の怪我を手当てして差し上げましょう。いかがです？
怪我の手当てを。
いかがです？あんなに苦しんでいる彼女を助けたいとは思えませんか？
それはそうだけど。でもやっぱりダメだよ。僕にはみんなを裏切るなんてできないよ。
それでは彼女を見つけるとひどい人ですね。
それは
先ほどあなたは何でもすると言ったはずです。もし私のお願いを断るのでしたらもう一度アトラクションに戻ってもらいます。
そんなひどいよ。せっかく出てきたのに。
熱を出しているだけならまだしもエイリアンの攻撃で怪我もしているみたいですが大丈夫ですか？
Particular point brought an agonized look to his face. Don't do what he says. He struggled to speak to warn him. I struggled to speak to warn him, but my voice felt stuck in my throat. The only thing that came out was a painful sounding moan. Akasa's head whipped around, his eyes wide. Hogstein's own eyes glittered with amusement. Akasa's shoulders slumped. It was obvious he was staring to collapse under the strain.
裏切るって僕に何をさせるつもりなの？
何？大したことじゃありません。ゲームがもっと面白くなるように混乱するようなことを言ってもらったりちょっと間違ってもらったりするだけです。
そんな。
別に クリアを失敗させたりはしなくていいんです。その程度なら気も咎めないでしょう。
He was phrasing it to downplay the worst parts so Wakasa wouldn't feel as guilty.
ちょっと間違えるだけ。そうだよね。僕一人が間違ったって。それに怪我の手当てもしてもらえるんだし。
Don't let him get to you, say no. I tried to will him to look at me, to hear what I was shouting back to him in my head. He completely focused on Hogstein.
さあどうします？私に協力するか、それともアトラクションに戻るか、選んでください。
Expression was partially hidden from me, but judging by the tone of his voice, he's enjoying this. What a jerk. Gosh, looked like he'd been debating with himself, agonizing over his choice. He suddenly straightened with a determined expression.
決めたよ。僕は。
Oh no. I moved to stop, but a sharp pain jolted up my spine and I collapsed. Don't, you can't do it, Wakasa. Pain dragged me down into unconsciousness. I hadn't noticed it, but the shadow of our doom was already creeping up to our feet.
眠っちゃったわね。
あれだけはしゃげばな。
僕眠ってないよ。
あら、そんなに眠そうな声を出して眠ってもいいのよ。家まではもう少しかかるんだから。
おやすみ。
思い切って休みを取ってよかったな。
What's going on? The main character has had a fever, and Wakasa's been given an ultimatum to either turn traitor or basically just watch the main character suffer. Unfortunately, he cracked under pressure, and our little idol boy basically has decided to become a traitor, just so we can be saved.
ええ、
That's what's happening so
忙
far.
しいのにありがとうございます。
いや、やはりこういった時間は必要だと実感したよ。これからはなるべく時間を作ろうと思う。
あなた、
At the minute, we're in a locket. We're in a locket scene at the moment. They seem to be sprinkled between parts in the gameplay, or chapters, I guess you could say as well. They're going to obviously lead up to a secondary narrative at the end of the game. It's obviously something to do with our protagonist, of course, because I'm sure it's hinted that she had a younger sister. I'm assuming it's a Ma and Pa at a theme park, and I'm assuming something specific happens there. Or it could be her uncle, actually, with her mother and sister. Right, we're on stage 5 now. And this is where we pretty much save for the time being for now. There we go, it's going to save here. Yep, we're going to quit out for now, because I hate to leave it on a bit of a cliffhanger, but it is what it is. I said I'd be doing 2 chapters each stream, and you know, it'll be nice because we can go back into. It'll be like, you know, we can continue from the cliffhanger from here tomorrow, which will be nice. right here. That's pretty much going to be it for now. Thanks very much for watching. And yeah, it was fun playing through these two chapters. I mean, we've left it on a bit of a cliffhanger, and that's fine. I can deal with that because we've had some big revelations with Urabe and Wakasa's ultimatum. Yes, exactly. Cliffhanger from PBS, exactly. But yeah, we've made quite a bit of progress and stuff happened, and I mean, we technically, well, we did. We ended up failing one of the games, and Urabe went missing, and Wakasa's now going to be a traitor. You know. Also, you know, Shirabe's daughter happened to show up into the story, which is interesting. She's kind of like a wild card element that's unforeseen and shown up, I guess you could say, in that sense. So yeah, it's been pretty good. There's been quite a few things. But anyway, that's going to be it for now. Thank you very much for watching, and yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao for now.